You're listening to the Gabe Molina Podcast.
Close.
Why not?
Because it's awkward.
It's very awkward.
It'll sound like there's a ghost breathing in there.
Oh, that's how I sound when I'm on this thing too. Is heavy breathing. It sounds. Nina says it sounds really inappropriate.
Like you're moaning.
Yes. Well, I'm recording. Mm-hmm. So I'm here with Ellen Simpson.
Hi.
My neighbor.
Yes.
I finally got you in here. I told you a long time ago I wanted to do a podcast with you. And you said, yeah. And then I never saw you for like 6 months. So
I've only been home for about 6 months from Iraq. So yeah.
How was your tour? Was it
It was Iraq.
uneventful? Was it eventful?
No, it was eventful. It was
Okay.
pretty eventful. I'm happy to be home. Happy to make it home. And,
How
back with
long
my
were you
family.
there for?
10 months.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, I want to apologize because when you left, Nina got real mad at me. And she said, you didn't even say bye to Helen, and everybody was outside because we had a little neighborhood,
Yeah, I remember.
send
It
off.
was wonderful. Mm-hmm.
And when she finally saw why I didn't go, she kind of understood a little better. So
Oh, God.
I had a little drone, and
I remember.
I was going to fly it. And I said, you know what? I should fly it like in the opposite direction of what you're driving. So it would kind of be like y'all coming together. So I sent it up, and the battery started beeping. So I was like, crap, she's fixing to leave. I need to put a new battery in. So I was bringing it down, and a lot of times I'll catch it in my hand. And I decided, I'm going to catch it in my hand. And you were already like backing out of the driveway. So I get an anxiety. So I was kind of freaking out. So instead of letting it land in my hand and giving it a couple of seconds to die, I grabbed it.
Oh, God.
And when I did, it literally almost cut the tips of 2 of my fingers off. And then that thing, it's a small drone, but the blades move really fast. So when I finally gripped it and it cut my fingers, it wouldn't turn off. So I got it and I flipped it upside down and I smashed it into my chest. And it actually cut me in the chest. And so when I looked at my fingers and there was blood everywhere. And so I came in, I put my fingers to my shirt, and I was sitting there and my heart rate was sky high. And I look out and I see your car go by. So I was like, damn it, I missed that.
You should have waved with 3 fingers.
Well, I was kind of like, well, get out there and say bye. But I was so mad. And then I felt bad because I missed you. I felt bad because I hurt myself, and that hurt. And then Nina walks in and she's like, what in the hell are you doing? And I was like, I wanted to choke her. I said, I got one good hand. I think I can kill her with one good hand. And I didn't kill her. But yeah, so I felt bad. So then she goes, you need to put a video together and post it because they need to know you hurt yourself. And I was like, oh, whatever, man.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah, so I felt like an idiot. But it was super nice when you came back.
Yeah.
Everybody was super excited.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the girls were super excited.
Super.
I'm sure Shannon was, and everybody else. But I know it's very personal to you. But how long did it take for things to normalize when you got back?
With the kids, surprisingly, you would expect about a week or so, maybe 2. I think it took about an hour and a half.
Oh, really?
They literally just were, okay, let's play. And then they start to get a little bit bored of me already, just like they would if I called on the phone the whole time I was gone. And they would just go and play on by themselves. Getting situated back into the house and the routine of things, that took about a week or 2.
Okay.
And that's usual. But maybe a month later, the kids are like, hey, do you remember when you were on your trip? And I go, I do. Do you remember? And they go, not really. I said, all right, then. That's good. I mean, they were 2.5 to almost 4.5 by the time I came home. I mean, I'm 3.5. So they grew up so much, but they were still at that awesome age that they couldn't remember it.
Yeah.
They don't remember it as much. So it was harder on me leaving than it was for them. And it was just as exciting for both of us coming home because they were a little bit older. They understood that I was coming home. They just didn't know where I was. So we called it a trip because we didn't want to call it work because we didn't want them to think every time I went to work I wasn't coming home for 9 months or so. So we just called it a trip. So they call it, oh, you were on your trip? Definitely not a vacation, but just a trip.
Yeah.
So now when Shannon and I leave and we say we're going on vacation, again, it's a different word that'll trigger for them. So they just talk about my trip, mommy on her trip.
I think you guys are really good at that. I mean, I was I was watching from like a mile away, but you know, I think y'all even had a big poster board of you in the house.
Mommy cutout, yeah.
Mommy cutout, you know, and so they constantly had an image of you every day, daily, you know.
They talked to it. They would pretend like I was there. They would sit it at the dinner table.
Yeah.
They would tuck it in the bed next to them sometimes. And that thing still floats around our house. Its neck's basically broke, and I hate it. I want to get rid of it. But the kids are like, no, you can't get rid of flat mommy.
Yeah.
But of course, with their little lisps, it sounds like they always called me fat mommy.
Well, I have to remember that if I ever drive by there and they call me Fat Gabe. I won't take it
You'd be like,
personal.
I know you said flat, right?
Well, and I think, like I said, I think that's huge. I think the, you know, being able to word associate with them, that way they don't get that feeling of, because I would imagine even in them being little bitty, it would cause anxiety to think, you know, you're leaving again, even though you know you're
just
not.
to go to the store and yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's awesome. What other things did y'all do to try to keep them?
They did Shannon's phenomenal, and we have a lot of, you know, military friends that really gave us a lot of advice. So she made up a calendar, just paper calendar that she put all the different months, and on top of it, she put a picture of the map of the world, and she put a picture of where I was versus a picture of where they were, and it showed the distance between us. And then every day they were able to put a sticker, because of course they're kids that love stickers, a sticker on the calendar the whole time.
So did they ever, did they understand the distance or?
No, they didn't understand that when they were going to sleep at night, they couldn't call me because it was like 2 a.m. my time, or just the time difference was weird. So they just knew that I spoke to them first thing in the morning, because that was my time to go to bed almost. And so they couldn't really understand where I was. They just knew I was far away and I was on a trip.
So when you're in Iraq, and I'm sure I don't know, I'm assuming it's like regular life. Do you have like set hours, or because of the time, can you break away to go make a phone call to the kids, or, you know, can they reach you if you know, maybe one of them's having a bad day and they want to talk to you? Can they?
Yeah, I mean, it depended on the person, you know, the people's schedule. So like my schedule was absolutely busy compared to some other people that work there, just because my boss wanted us to always be at work, whether we needed to or not. And other people just never went to work really unless there was something major going on.
That's the job I would want.
That's quite a few of them did. And I got jealous, but it was fine. It was fine. Out of like the 270 days or so I was in there and working, I worked maybe 250. And everybody else worked maybe 20. Like, what the heck? But anyway.
Does that help the time go by, though?
It did. I searched for things to really keep me busy. I mean, I did extra duties on a bunch of stuff, like folding tents and stuff, like things that weren't necessary for me to be doing. But I wanted to do it, one, because I wanted to get out there with the soldiers, but also just because it's just something that I needed to do mentally, to get up early and have something to do to keep the day going and keep me busy. So yeah,
that's awesome.
But yeah, if they wanted to call me, they would call me and I would sneak away. It wasn't unless I was absolutely in surgery. Even then, I would kind of be able to step away for a minute or two and then just go back into surgery. But other than that, yeah.
I would be so upset if you stepped away for a second or two while I was in surgery.
There's always other people there. That's why. Yep.
You're like, hang on real quick. I need a...
You asleep. You don't know.
I need help holding this side of his stomach open. What was your gastric? So... But we're glad you're back.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I love being back.
Neighborhood's full again.
I love the support that we had while we were gone. I mean, every tree had a yellow ribbon on it. The signs that everyone made on the way out and then on the way home.
Yeah,
I mean, cool. I still have them. I just think they're hilarious, and some are just sweet and kind. And you guys was funny about the delivery men. And
that was actually my wife's cousin's husband.
And then the video you all made.
Yeah.
That was the highlight. Everyone's like, do you know that guy? And I was like, it's just from Gabe, don't worry.
You know what's funny is like, I told Nina, like, I grew up in a small town with a lot of room and a lot of elbow room. And here there's not a lot of elbow room. And so I constantly told Nina, I'm like, I'd love to move. I'd love to go someplace where there's more room, or, you know, even buy some property or something. And we've had a lot of turnover in the cul-de-sac. Not a lot, but literally, I'd say half of the houses have different people in them than when we first moved in.
Yeah.
The first group, were amazing. Then they all left. The second group came in. They're amazing. Mm-hmm. I told Nina, I said, it's so difficult to leave the area when the neighbors are so good.
Yep.
Even the worst neighbors aren't that bad.
Yeah,
you know?
Agree.
It could be worse, you know? And so, and it's nice, it's in a little cul-de-sac, you know, there's kids running around, you know, everybody's super helpful, you know, when the snowstorm blew in, you know, everybody was real helpful with, like, sharing meals and, you know, checking on each other and you know, I guess maybe our relation to the distance-wise to the base, you know, we never really lost power for a significant period of time. It was just kind of like spurts here and there.
Thankfully.
I tell everybody, like, I felt bad because Nina's cousins didn't have power or water for like a week straight. And I was like, my worst part was, you know, getting YouTube back up because the power shut off. I was like, oh, let me restart everything, you know. And so I walked around in T-shirt and shorts the whole time. So it wasn't as bad as it could have been. So we're real thankful for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, great.
They always said in the military that you have to have one location where you live off post with civilian world. This, you know, we've lived off post, but it was in a military community and things like that. So this is the first place that we've lived where we're surrounded by mainly civilians. You guys are almost all teachers and stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's made it extremely difficult to want to leave.
Yeah.
So my time to leave is coming up shortly. But I'm literally looking for any job that I can stay here for, just because I love it so much from this cul-de-sac. Like, it's just most supportive place. It's crazy. I mean, most supportive and, like, definitely a melting pot of different people, you know. But everyone's just so phenomenal to each other. And like you said, it's a cul-de-sac full of kids. It's safe. We even have some strangers down on the corner that aren't as safe, but yet we don't associate with them, and they make it fine for us, you know?
Yeah.
So there could be definitely even worse than that, you know? So, like you said, even the worst of the neighbors are not even that bad, so we'll take it.
And then the ones that, like, are not, one set left, but even some of the ones, like, the gentleman kind of catty-cornered us, he doesn't say hi or anything like that, but he sticks to himself. His yard always looks great. Yep. You know, he's a great neighbor that just doesn't associate. And
that's fine.
Like, that's cool.
As my introverted ass, you know, I'm absolutely fine. You barely have to give me a hi once in a while. You know? Yeah.
So it's really something. So that's one thing that I told Nina. And I mean, I guess you're running into that too, where it's kind of like, you know, man, I would love to have some property somewhere, but I don't know who I'm going to be living next to.
Yep, you never know.
So, and then even the guy behind me, his name's Joe. Joe's a real good dude. You know, he kind of got the ball rolling on fixing part of the fence in the back because the dogs had eaten it for you know, the fences here, you know,
they're crap, and
they're not made to last that long.
No, we just got one done behind us as well, and so we have all the pretty side, middle section of ugly side, pretty side, and we're like, it's fine. At least it's fresh, you know.
We need to finish ours too. Mm-hmm. But one thing I wanted to talk to you about is you have a cool, interesting hobby.
I do. I have some little weird hobbies.
So you have more than one?
Well, it all kind of associates. Like, I love hauntings.
Yeah.
I love psychics. I love scary movies. I love all that kind of stuff. I'm not even like a huge Halloween fan. I never was growing up. I didn't always love my costumes that were chosen for me, kind of thing. But I just love these kind of things, and I love to be scared. I've learned as I'm growing up, and you know, it's healthy to be scared.
Well, what are those endorphins that you get out of being scared?
Endorphins, yeah.
Endorphins,
yeah.
That's the word.
Yeah.
Stupid Jim Beam, honey. So. Was there something that you experienced that brought you to that? Or was it just something that you found interesting as a kid and it just kind of started building?
I found it interesting as a kid. A lot of, you know, just deaths in the family, even before I was born. But yet I felt a connection to certain relatives that have already passed. So growing up, I would never say I was anything psychic, but I was definitely a sensitive person when it came to these kind of things. So I always felt different things within a room or when I was in a certain environment. And I'm very empathic, so I can feel someone else's feelings. And sometimes it sticks with me, which is kind of a burden, but I've learned kind of how to push it off, and I just distract myself. But if I walk into a room and someone's like very sad and depressed, I will leave and feel that same feeling, and it'll stick with me for a while until I have a different interaction with somebody, or I just, like I said, kind of figure out a way to avoid it and get rid of it.
Oh, wow. So that's pretty intense.
It can be, and I don't like big crowds for that reason. and that's why I always like to try and be as positive of a person as I can, because I think my personality and my feelings will be projected onto them, so that hopefully they're in a happy mood, so that I can leave in a happy mood as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So definitely just a sensitive person. So I had that kind of interest growing up. Always really liked scary movies. So I'm the person that, to relax, I will sit in a dark room by myself and put on a scary movie and enjoy my life and live my best life watching the scary movie alone.
Let me ask you this. What is your favorite scary movie? Or what are a couple of your favorites?
Well, I love the Conjuring series.
Those are good.
I do. Anything that's based on a true story, even if it's just based on, because you can tell, of course it's all blown up a little bit, but you can tell that there was real things happening to these people. So like Amityville Horror, I believe it. So I love to watch it and just see like, crap, I would crap my pants if that was in me. You know, I've never had that kind of haunting, like a scary one like that. And I would like to see myself how I would react, but at the same time, not so much. I'm not really eager to do so. But I do love those kind of scary movies. If it's a scary movie that's based on a true story, that is one I will seek out to watch.
I think those are the most impactful ones, because for a lot of times and for a lot of years, scary movies were more startling, right?
Yes.
So it was like there was
the jump out.
There was a big jump. There was the camera would focus in on something quickly, or you'd hear the violin real quick, and so to me it was kind of like nothing was scary. And so when I was a kid, I used to be real afraid of The Exorcist.
Yeah.
So that was the first one that kind of really freaked me out. And after that, like I hadn't seen it. Like, there was Friday the 13th. There was Nightmare on Elm Street. Those kind of things.
Those didn't really,
They're not scary.
They weren't
even
scary.
that kind of comedic in a way.
Yeah.
Freddy Krueger was
even
funny.
as a 9-year-old, I was like, like, can we move on?
Did you ever see, I think it was called The Rite with Anthony Hopkins? He was like a priest or something.
No, I just recently watched the one with the nun. I think it's called The Nun.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
But that's what I was thinking of when you said that.
No, it was actually good.
One.
It was good. He was, I think it's Anthony Hopkins, and he plays like a bishop or a priest or something, and he ends up getting possessed in that movie. And that one, when I saw that, there were parts of it where I was like, man, that's pretty scary. I hadn't seen anything scary in a long time, but I need to go check out some of the newer stuff. The Conjuring stuff was good. Yeah, go ahead.
Just gonna grab another drink.
Go ahead.
You can keep talking.
She's getting another beer. She's down one. You want to put them in the refrigerator? They're going to be cooler in there.
Oh, they're cold. I just bought them.
There's actually some more in the refrigerator, so if you finish that 12-pack.
I got a
wheelbarrow. We'll get you the house.
It's all good.
So, as a kid, were you sensitive as a kid too, or did it develop as you got older?
Developed as I got older, and I still have those. Like in Iraq, it was weird because things would happen where more dreams would come to me, and I would dream about somebody's family member dying, right? And I would go on Facebook and I just kind of look and hear, their so and so just died. I wouldn't get the relative correct, but it's one of those, I would dream of that person, and I'm like, oh, I got to investigate this person. I got to look in to make sure things are good. So if I ever text you and say, hey, you good today, buddy? And you're like, what the hell are you doing? It's probably because I dreamed about you and something happened, and I just want to make sure everything's good.
Well,
so those kind of things do happen. They're not always accurate at all, but when they are, and I'm like, oh, crap. And there was quite a few in Iraq, and I can't really fully remember all of them, but I remember thinking, oh, my God, this is like, it's getting like
If I see a
honed.
late night text from you, I won't answer it.
There you go. And then I'll really shit myself.
So what do you think causes that? What do you think brings that on? Is that just, the energy of something traumatic like that happening?
Maybe. I don't know exactly. Like I said, it was from when I was really young, and it was just an interest, and I know that you can kind of hone those skills, and I never really took the energy to do so because I didn't know how much I wanted to be into that, but yeah, I think I honed it just enough to be able to still control it, and it doesn't always happen. And it's not always there, but when it is, it's because I want it to be, and I can control that portion, and that's what's helpful, I guess.
Do you ever experience, like, let's say you're hanging out, kids are asleep, I'm sure y'all get time where you're doing your thing and Shannon's doing her thing, and do you ever experience, like, little things that make you go,
Oh, always. Quite often, especially in our houses. So one thing that we do is... We've called into a psychic before, and it was recommended through a friend. So I don't, you can't trust all of them, but there are ones that I believe and I trust. And so we were talking to her, and this was in California before we were here. And things would just always be happening in our house, you know, just random stuff. Certain pictures fall off the wall out of nowhere. Here, when we got here, a lot of toys will go off, and they would be completely turned off. And all of a sudden, they're making noise, and you're like, oh, what the heck?
That's in this house?
This now, yeah. And it still happens, but not as much now. But what happened was when we called the psychic, we said, you know, we'd like to know if anything's following us, because even at West Point, something, you know, we felt like there was always a presence around us. And she confirmed that there is a presence, and it's most likely Shannon's grandfather who passed away. Oh. I never met him. She was close with him growing up. I can't exactly remember what year he passed away, but it was in like early 2000s. And it seems like he's just there to kind of help us and protect us. And he likes to make us aware that he's there by making noises and things like that every once in a while. And so we just, now it's to the point where we're not even scared, because we know that it's a family member. It's, you know, a friendly thing. So we just say, hey, Pop, how are you? You know, and just, do you need anything? No? Okay, then stop bothering us now, because we're trying to watch this, you know, show or whatever. But yeah, it happens quite often. And it's bizarre how that kind of stuff happens. But yeah, there's always something around us, and why us? But, you know.
Nina always tells me that she thinks that I'm a little bit sensitive, and not just my feelings.
I was going to say probably your feelings.
No, it's not just those. Like, I feel like I don't think that I have anything near what you have, because I've never felt that strong of a, you know, like, I think I can read people pretty well, but I don't ever get that, like, I feel what you're feeling right now.
Yeah.
And her dad does. Like, her dad will literally get sick and start throwing up if somebody's in a bad state.
Yeah.
But there'll be times where, when we first moved here, she has a friend that is pretty sensitive, and she came to the house one day, and we just bought the house. I don't even think we had furniture in here. And she was talking to her, and she's like, Nina always says, everything's haunted. Everything's haunted. Everything's haunted. And so she said, she asked the girl, she said, hey, is the house haunted? And our friend was like, well, your house isn't haunted. She goes, but, you know, this land's been traveled a lot, and people have died in the area, and it's just, she goes, I feel people passing through all the time, you know? And then when you think about, like, the Chinese, you know, they don't put the doors in line because, you know, for money purposes, things, you know, go in one door, not the other one. And, like, literally our doors line up with Leslie's doors, and they go out the back. And Nina tends to go to bed earlier than I do. And so, like, there'll be times that I'll be watching TV, and that trash can right there, it's got the little door that kind of goes back and forth or whatever on it. And there's been times where when you put something in there, even if it sits and then it falls through, it kind of shakes a couple times. And there's been times where I'll walk by it and I didn't throw anything away, but the lid's just moving really fast. Or all of a sudden the ceiling fan's turning really quick and it's off. And there was one time we'd been arguing. I slept in the other room, and the TV comes on by itself. Just little things like that. So Nina always freaks out, and she gets mad, and she starts, you know, get out of the house. You don't need to be here, blah, blah. And, you know, I'm a little more, I don't know. I think it's kind of cool, you know, that because it makes me start to think about, you know, almost like your own mortality, right? And it's kind of like, well, it makes me feel good to know something else happens after you die.
Yeah. I've told my mother when she passes, like, she has to come back and haunt me for a day. And she was like, okay. I'm like, no, really, like, come and visit me. Let me know you're good, whatever it is. And she's like, oh, okay. So we'll see if she remembers at the time, of course.
I'm sure she will.
I'm sure she will. But yeah.
I think that, like Beaumont, there'll be times that now he's getting older and a little senile, but there were times a few years back that he would be in the living room and he'd be watching the edge of the ceiling in the wall. And he'd be just looking back and forth, growling and barking at it. And it just freaks you out.
Yep.
We've had, in this house, we'd come back from somewhere, and at the time we just had him. We had the kennel in the bedroom, and he would walk in through our bedroom door, go right in his kennel door. And I was unloading the truck. Nina was in here with him, and she starts yelling at me. Like always.
I was going to say, this is a theme here.
She's like, what are you doing? and there's blood all over the floor. And I was like, what's going on?
Oh, Jesus.
Well, Beaumont had ripped his quick off of his nail. And so, or his nail and his quick was out. Well, she goes, why did you do that? And I said, what are you talking about? She goes, Beaumont went in the room and you growled at him. And she said she literally heard a literal rah in the bedroom. And Beaumont went in the kennel, heard that, and jumped out. When he did that, he ripped his nail off of his paw and ran out here. And so Nina was too busy. She was occupied with him. And I finally came in from the outside. And it didn't dawn on her that I just come from outside. And so she was like, why did you do that? And I said, what are you talking about? I was bringing the bags in. She goes, you're not in the back bedroom or the restroom? I was like, no. And so we checked the whole friggin' house. We checked
the growl. That's
yeah. And
daunting.
So that was there's been times like that it's been kind of, and then other places. I used to work at a jail, which had a lot of just kind of negative energy in it and stuff like that. But things don't typically happen to her. But I feel like a lot of times things happen to me. And maybe it's not so much being sensitive, but just not, like, to me, Nina's like, whatever is here that I can't see is evil, you know? And to me, it's kind of like, well, it's probably just a somebody who hadn't quite moved on or something, you know? And
wanted to scare your dog for
I wanted
fun.
to scare my dog, you know? I don't like him either, so.
Shannon says she sees shadows at the top of the stairs a lot of times, and you'll just see them walk by. And when you're laying in bed, you'll kind of see something, because we have a lot of night lights around for the kids, and you'll just see like a shadow go by, and you're just like, what the hell is that?
Really?
Now? Yeah. But I mean, it doesn't freak me out anymore because nothing's happened. I mean, a growl, yeah, that might worry me a little bit more. But just seeing things, you can get it out of your mind, just phasing it out, being like, that was probably just, the dog walking through the hallway, even though he's like laying next to you.
I'll give you
just
some back history of your house.
Oh, you got some?
Well, I don't know how good it is, but it may help you a little bit. There was the original owners were a large family. And I want to say they were maybe Jehovah's Witness, and they had
or Mormon,
yeah. And so because they had an older lady that lived with them, I want to say she was maybe early stages of Alzheimer's, maybe. They were a lot like Chatty Cathy on the corner, and so just not very polite, not very neighborly. I loved waving. I love waving at people who don't want to wave to me.
I love it, yes.
So I'll literally stand there and wave really big. They never did. One time she came by, and she brought some Watchtower magazine. That's why I thought she was Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah, okay.
And it was so funny because she was really nice, really sweet. And it took me a minute. And I'm just an asshole in general, but she was like, there were other houses being built. And I guess she had met one of the home builders or one of the contractors. I don't know who she met, because she would just leave the house. And then they'd go looking for her. And she came over one day and she's like, Ricardo? And I was like, at first I was like,
that's racist.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, we're all related somehow, technically. So, yeah. And she's like, well, here, give these to Ricardo. And so I could tell, something else is happening with her, right? And so I said, okay, if I see him, I'll give them to him. Thank you. And there were the Watchtower books, and her last name was Libertini, I think, is what she said it was. But they're just very awkward, and like the kids would hang out of the second floor windows. Because they had like
probably
some
how it all broke. We have broken windows up there.
That's probably who it was.
Yeah.
And so I think when they finally left, and I think they're just heavily religious in whatever they were, and just not very social. And then there was her there, and then that's when Michael and Caroline moved in, and then you guys. But I will say there's another 2-story house that had somebody who passed away in it. And one day we were talking with Luis. I don't know if you ever met Luis.
Of course.
We're at his house, and there was a gentleman by the name of Philip. Philip used to live in the next 2-story house. And we were talking one day, and that guy has a funny story. I'll get to that in a minute. But he said, yeah, every now and then my doors are open. He's like, because I think
Lewis was saying this?
No, this was Philip.
Okay.
Philip was
now,
in
Philip
the Air Force.
lived next to
Yeah.
Lewis? Okay.
And
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding. And
Sorry,
so,
ladies.
yeah, I hope they don't listen to this. And so there was another girl who had lived there. She had a friend move in with her, and he ended up dying in the house. And then Philip was like, every now and then I'll come home from, I guess he was in the Air Force, and so he'd come home from, what do they call it, TDY or something like that. And he's like, my garage doors would be open, or my front door would be open, or I'd wake up in the morning, and the garage door and front door is open, the back door is open. And he said one day he was gone on TDY, and he said, I came back, and I felt like something was mad that I was gone. He said, I heard a huge bang, and he said, I ran upstairs to see what it was. He said, and he said the toilet was broken in half. He said, like, split down the middle. He said it was cracked in half, and water was running everywhere. And we're like, dude,
You would need a sledgehammer kind of thing to do that. Yeah.
And he's like,
a lot of force.
And we'd ask him, we're like, dude, that freak you out? Because then finally we said, somebody died in your house, And he's like, nah, don't worry about it. It just kind of, he's like, I don't think too much about it. That same night, it was so funny because he told us, we're just telling stories and sharing stories. And he said, I've been attacked by a dog when I was a kid. And we're like, oh, okay. Yeah, I got bit right here. One of those things. Mm-hmm. And he's like, no, I got attacked pretty bad. And so everybody was showing like the little dog bark because Beaumont was biting Nina or something. And so finally he's like, y'all want to see my scar? And we're like, sure, Nina showed you hers on her arm, And so he undoes his shorts, pulls them down.
Nope.
And he's got this friggin' scar. It's probably twice the thickness of your arm and the same length. That goes from the front of his thigh all the way around the side to the back. And it would look like a chunk had been removed. And we're like, dude, you weren't kidding. You were really attacked by a dog.
That dog went down for bone.
But anyway, we got away from the main topic because I had to share that dog bite. But so it seems like different things happen here. Nina told a story on the podcast we're doing for Halloween. And I'll tell you now. But so one night we're here, and it had to be, don't they say like 3s, like the witching hour or something like that? Is that accurate? And why does that happen?
I don't know. I don't know all. Like, I just know that that's what they say, of course. But I'm assuming 3, just like if you get 3 scratches down your arm, it's the devil, the signal for the devil.
Yeah. They say it's kind of like the mocking of the Holy Trinity, I guess, or something.
I think that's
like
what
that.
I'm thinking, yeah.
So it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. We're in bed, and all the fire alarms go off in the house. And so I got a ladder. I started undoing them. And we had just got an alarm on the house. So Nina's like, I wonder if the fire department got a notice. Do we have to call them? I said, I don't know. And finally we see the fire truck pull up. So Nina goes out there, and we're going to invite them in so they can check the house or whatever. Well, they run to Leslie's house. And so Nina's like, no, we're over here. And they're like, and Leslie's like, girl, you know what just happened? She's like, every fire alarm went off in my house. And we're like,
no, that happened over here.
We're like, no, that happened over here. She's like, what? So Nina is like, I wonder if it was just this energy that just kind of went through both houses.
Because you have your doors lined up.
And they're exactly in perfectly. I mean, if you look over there, you see your front door. But so I think that stuff kind of happens more often. I think it's just a matter of whether we're receptive to it and paying attention to it or not. Obviously, you do. Mm-hmm. So when did you start getting into the? So
speaking of like haunted houses and stuff, this is my first experience was in college. So we lived in this. It was maybe sophomore year, so second year or so. It was myself and 2 or 3 other roommates. I had so many roommates at this point, but they were all good friends of mine. So we lived in this house that was oddly built, where when we walked up 3 steps to get into our apartment, and it had this corridor that was massive, and it was round, and there's plugs up halfway up the hall. Like, you know how, your plug sockets are down below, or it was literally where light switches are. That's where the plugs were, all throughout the house. And so we had a living room as soon as you walked in, and then a kitchen, and then you had back bedrooms over there. And It was.
Was this up around Pennsylvania?
Sorry. So yeah, this was out by Pittsburgh. It was Indiana, Pennsylvania, right? Little town, Indiana, Pennsylvania. I went to Indiana University of Pennsylvania College. So I studied nursing, and I was studying nursing one day. I was the only one home. I'm sitting in the living room, and I go to get a snack or something from the kitchen, and I go across this long corridor, and I look down the hallway, and I see this shadow, and the shadow has a top hat, can't see a face really, and a long black coat. And I just went, the hell? And it just kind of walked into a wall that went into like a bathroom doorway, right? But the door was closed, of course, and I'm just like, what was that? And just, maybe I just rub my eyes, whatever.
And you said you were by yourself?
I was by myself, home alone, lived with all females, went back to the living room. I'm again studying nursing, and it was another hour later, get up again, go to get something else. And I just keep looking down, and this thing wasn't there this time, but it was maybe like a week later. So I noticed that every time I was studying nursing, this person, this male, and he looked like he was walking into the bathroom that was right next to my bedroom. And he was just walking down there, and he had this top hat, whatever. So I decided to name him Herb. Herb, hey Herb, whatever. So now after a while, I start seeing him so often when I'm studying. Hey Herb, what you doing down there, buddy? You gonna just go away? Because I'm
Herb is a non.
I don't know what. Yeah, that's why I gave it to him, right? So I start telling my roommates finally. I'm like, guys, I'm just gonna let you know, like I'm seeing this thing, and they're like, well, we don't want to see it. And I said, cool, but I do see it. And I said,
they hadn't seen it.
They had not seen it yet, and they started to tell me how. Now Again, trash memory, as well as I don't pay attention to a lot of things, right? So when someone's talking to me, sometimes I'll just doze off and not pay attention. Yeah, I know. So apparently our landlord, when we were seeing the house, he told us that it was an old hospital, and it was a TB hospital. So that's why the plugs were up on the wall. And I'm like, this is all tracking now. So the neighbors that lived down below, they lived in the morgue. So my ass is breaking into their house in the middle of the night to try and go. They're like 4 or 5 males down there. I literally am breaking in when they're out partying so that I can go ghost hunt down there because it's the morgue. Really? Nothing's happening down there. But again, Herb just kept coming up. One other person wind up seeing him at some point, but nobody else did. So it was mostly just me, and it was only when I'm studying nursing. So I assumed that it was something where he was like a doctor or something, because again, TB hospital. But then he started messing with our electronics, and ghosts love electronics. So they would start, I had one of those old time, it's from the early 2000s, a big stereo, had 2 big speakers on the side, and then in the middle it had like a tape set, had the CD player up top, and then the radio in the middle. You had the nice one, girl. I had the good, nice one, right? Brought it from home. I was like, this is from my high school. I'm going to bring it.
You came from money.
So it sat on this the whole entire time I was there for months now. It was sitting on this, just a shelf, and it was the only thing on the shelf, and the shelf was held up by these just metal hooks that came all the way out the length of the shelf, and it kind of like hooked on. So the shelf sat very nicely, right? I came home one day, and this thing had to have been, it was on the ground. It was just shattered on the ground. The entire shelf came down. I'm like, what the hell? It's not even like it can rock off. You literally have to pick it up and pull it off the shelf and drop it on the ground. That's what happened. I was so pissed because that was an awesome speaker.
Yeah.
What the hell? Anyway. So then in the back of the TV, things were starting to break, like full-on metal prong things are just breaking off. Our microwaves causing problems. We're like, what the fuck is happening, Again, this is when only myself and one other person saw this person. And I'm like, this has got to be happening. You're like, come on, guys. Yeah. So that was the first experience that I had. So good old Herb, left him behind. And
did you ever figure out maybe what he was looking for?
I couldn't really, no. Again, I just kind of assumed it was because I was doing nursing, and he was a doctor. That's the only time I saw him show up was when I was studying, which was bizarre. And I put that correlation after like the 4th or 5th time. I was like, all right, I'm going to just stop studying now. You know what?
It's interesting because like Nina's a special needs teacher, and Nina always tells me all behavior is communication. So for him to be doing, or him or something like him to be doing things like that, I wonder if that was his way of maybe trying to communicate, obviously, but to encourage you to continue doing it, maybe?
Yeah, well, I kind of do, but at the same time, I was like, oh, I want to stop because it's the only time he showed up. So.
What were you using early on to do your investigations?
Nothing then.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely nothing. I mean, we didn't have good cell phones at the time. It was 2000, I don't don't know, 4 or something like that.
So you're just kind of exploring rooms and stuff like that?
And this is the first time I saw a visual of a person,
Yeah.
So it was a little creepy, of course, the first time. You see the shadow, but then you see the shadow clear enough where you can actually see clothing. You're like, oh, shit.
That's crazy.
It's very 1800s, kind of, very old. So that was
How long
creepy.
were you in that dorm?
That was a year. That was a year for that one, and then we moved on to another one. And every year we got a different one. That was the only one that ever had anything happen because, again, if we found out, I didn't know at first, but that it was an old hospital, TB hospital. It was
So
this makes sense.
You kept pursuing that kind of thing because it's exciting and interesting.
It's exciting and interesting.
What was your next?
So then we started. So then, as soon as I graduated college, I started living with my sister, and she was very generous enough to. We were going on a trip to California. So again, lived in Pennsylvania, moved back towards Philly. Going on a trip to California.
It's funny that you say that because now I feel like you're super Philly.
Oh,
You get a Philly vibe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Philly vibe's coming out.
Yeah.
It's the drinking, probably.
Starting to show.
Not even getting angry. You're lucky you're getting it. So I think it was about 2008 or so. I graduated. Like I said, lived with my sister. She wanted to go to California with her and a friend, and she paid for me to go. I said, all right, let's go. You're paying? Heck yeah, all right. Hey, by the way, if we're near Long Beach, California, we have to go to the Queen Mary. Let's do the Queen Mary. So, big old dock. It's there docked and stuff. Big old ship. And they do haunted tours at night. And this was probably the second time. Again, when you're there, you kind of have these feelings.
Explain to people what the Queen Mary was exactly.
I just know that it moved back and forth from Britain to America, and it finally docked in America after it took way too many trips. So it was newer than the Titanic, and it actually made its full trip. But it would just go back and forth, and I'm not sure exactly what or whom it would bring. I know people would go back and forth, not just cargo and stuff. But I don't remember the full history.
What is it? I wonder if it was used during the war. I want to say I'd seen something.
I feel like it might have been, yeah. And there was definitely people on there, and there was definitely soldiers because from the stories that they tell. So again, you go on this ghost tour. They get you a couple drinks beforehand, and then they're like, all right, we're going down. And they go through this, this whole tour of the entire place. And it was super cool because there was certain locations that really just came out. So one that's always memorable, and if you ever go on it, you'll remember it because there's a big pool, this massive pool that's there, right? And they tell you that there's a little girl who's about 5 who had passed away there, and is looking for their mom, basically. And so you'll hear her kind of talk once in a while, say, "Mom, Mom," in the distance. I didn't really hear that. However, she also plays tag.
The girl does?
The girl plays tag. So
with people
who are there. So we do this thing where we're in the complete darkness, and you say something like, "All right, tag, you're it." Yeah. Guess who gets tagged out of the entire group? This one.
Really? What did you feel?
She touched my leg, and then she moved on. And now they come around with psychics there that can actually see them, and they're like, "Did you feel that?" And I went, "Yeah." "How'd you know?" And they're
they brought it up.
They
to
knew
you.
it, yeah.
Okay.
But after I'd already felt it, and I was like, "God, I think I felt something," So she played a little tag with me. I thought that was cute. Okay. So then we go into this other little area down below, and we are in showers. And I don't know what exactly is happening. That I can't remember all, but I'm standing in this shower stall, and it's just an open bay, right? And everybody gets into a stall, and again, we turn off all the lights, and we go quiet so that we can see what's going on. Hey. And I am not one to wear a dress, obviously. However, I did that night, and all of a sudden, I feel my dress literally coming up, and I'm like,
"Oh, really?
What the fuck is that?" Yeah, so I'm pushing it down, and I'm like, that was ridiculous. That was a big burst of air or something. But again, it slowly is coming up. I'm like, what the heck? So the psychic again comes over, and she goes, "So what are you feeling right now?" And I go, "Assault?" What? I said, "Why do I feel like my dress is being pulled up?" And she goes, "There is a man who's a soldier who is literally trying to lift your skirt right now." I said, "Well, you need to tell him to stop, okay? Because this is just downright rude. Why is nobody else getting touched, right?" So this is the same tour. So
do they encourage you to let's say something like that's happening?
Yeah.
Do they encourage you to say, "Hey, stop it, get away from"?
No, they just said they just want to know what we're feeling because they know what's happening to us,
Okay.
but they just want to get the validation first. So then we go over into this other area, and there was these big old doors between the two sections of the ship where apparently this guy was running through. I guess there was a fire of some sort, and the fire was coming at him, and he was trying to get through, and these emergency doors that were steel shut and killed him. And so we're standing in this area, and I remember there's these poles, and at this point I was just kind of getting tired because it was like 2 hours in, and I'm like getting drained by these energies. And so I'm just kind of leaning against this pole, and again, this fucking psychic comes over and goes, I just want to let you know, you're being followed throughout this entire thing. This guy is now just hanging out behind you. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, why me? And they're like, I don't know why you, honestly. She said, but this is what's happening. Like, I'm just telling you they're right behind you. So if you feel them, that's what's going down. I'm like, all right, thanks. And at this point, not even a care in the world because I'm really tired and feeling drained. So I'm just leaning. I'm like, all right, can we move on? This is fun and exciting, but I'm tired. Let's go home. It's also later at night because you have to wait till the nighttime, and I'm not a night owl.
Yeah.
So, it was close to probably 10 o'clock, and I'm just like, all right, let's get out of here and let's go. It was pretty cool.
I wonder if there's I bet there was, he could probably sense that you were
sensitive, right? And
sensitive,
yep.
And he could probably draw on some of your energy.
I'm pretty sure that's why they're always attracted to me, and not my roommates or my sister had nothing experiencing like that, and I'm like, well, why me? Like, I'm feeling picked on here, guys.
Now, at this point, did you realize you were sensitive, or were you? I mean,
again,
quite?
I just kind of felt like I was, but I never tried to hone it or anything, and I was just like, oh man, there's this kind of proof right here. Yeah.
That's exciting.
It was exciting. We went back a couple years later, Shannon and I, with another friend, and nothing even occurred. We didn't really, because I even asked, well, at least not that I remember, because I asked Shannon, I said, hey, when we went, did anything happen? She goes, no, because I'd be freaked out, so I would remember. And she remembers everything. And I was like, well, I don't remember, and I just don't think so. But we did go back a couple years later, and I don't even know if we did the whole tour again, because it was just so exhausting for me. So. Yeah.
I wonder if, like, spirits like that are kind of like, let's say the soldier in Queen Mary, I guess they're tied to a physical structure like that because of the traumatic way maybe that they died. The traumatic
way that they died. That's usually what they say. They can't move on because they don't know what happened to them, basically, or why they're there.
I wonder if they can ever move on.
I think there's ways that the psychics probably help them. I don't know. I mean, you see that on certain shows that they can help them, and does it work? Who knows? But they do try.
I wonder if there's times where somebody who dies really quick. Now, I don't know. I don't know, but I wonder if somebody that dies kind of violently and quick, if maybe they don't even realize that they're dead.
That's a good theory. I can see that. Yeah.
I wonder if that's
so they just
the case at times.
Yeah. Keep moving on through as if they're not sure. Like, why is nobody seeing me anymore?
Or maybe just not kind of accepting it. Maybe I know when I worked at the jail there in George West, we had it was all stories, so I don't know how accurate they were. But on the third floor of the old jail, we had an old jail, and so it had those old. It had an old cell in there that was like that flat bar, like you see in the cartoons, and. There was a box on that cell, and it had 3 levers, and then there was a little hook on the top of the ceiling where they would hang people. Oh. And apparently they said they had hung 3 people there. They would drop into the judge's chambers, and they pronounce them dead.
That's so crazy.
It's crazy, right? And there was times that working at night, that was kind of my shift, was graveyards, because I was taking classes at the time, so I'd go to school during the day and then work at the jail at night. And it was real small. There wasn't a whole lot of people there at night. And so you'd be working on the second floor, because that's where our desk was. And the elevator would be there with you, and because nobody else had taken it. And all of a sudden, the elevator would take off to the 3rd floor. And you'd sit at your desk, and you're like, nobody else is here. There's me, my partner. Everybody's in their cells. The woman's cell was upstairs. And then dispatcher downstairs. And then the police would be out in the streets or whatever. And so the elevator would always go up to the 3rd. And then it would come back down to the 2nd, and the doors would open. And me and my partner, me and my buddy who worked there too, we didn't have any sort of weapons or anything. All we had were those big mag flashlights. Mm-hmm. So you'd sit there with your mag light in your hand waiting to see what was on the elevator. And it was never anything. But some of the scariest stuff was taking the elevator. So we're going to go downstairs. You'd hit 1, and it was always late at night. You'd hit 1, but it would take you to 3. And so you'd get up at 3, the doors would open, And you sit there, and there was a couple times that you'd be sitting there real still, because I was by myself, and you would feel the elevator rock, like somebody got in it. And then it would go down to the floor that you picked. And those nights were kind of creepy, but I say the biggest thing that happened to me there was, it was Saturday mid-morning, late morning, and we had done everything we needed to do for the day. We were getting ready for visitation. People were going to start coming in like at 1, and it must have been like 11:30, 12. And my partner had gone downstairs to sit with a dispatcher, and I said, hey, I'm going to go to the courthouse and take a nap. So, because we were done, right, for an hour. And so she's like, all right. So everything was connected interior. You know, you could go from the jail to the courthouse to downstairs where. And so, again, it was Saturday. Nobody's there. And so I get the judge's chair. I move it over to this nice spot on the wall so I can put my feet up. And so I kick back. I'm leaning back, and I'm looking up, and I'm just staring at this picture of this old judge that had been there, a county judge or something. I'm just staring at it. And he must have been from, like, I don't know, 30s or 40s or something. And there was a little corner wall, and they had those heavy doors that have the bar across it, and you can hear it hit. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm not asleep. I'm just kind of relaxing and got my arms crossed, feet up. And I hear somebody hit that bar to open the door. And then I hear the door slide across the carpet. And then it slides back, and I hear it close. And so I'm thinking it's my partner, right?
Yeah, somebody's coming in.
So I'm leaning over to see who it is, and nobody ever comes around the corner. And so we used to screw with each other. So I grew up with a bunch of sons of bitches that I know how people do when they're doing somebody wrong. So I call her on the radio, and I talk real calmly because I don't want her to think anything's going on, right? I'm trying to feel her out. And so I said, hey, Josie. Her name was Josie. I said, hey, Josie, where are you at? And she's like, I'm down with the dispatcher. And when she responds, I can hear the dispatcher. And I said, okay. I said, anybody else here, PD or county police, anybody? She's like, no, just us and the inmates, and they're locked up. And I said, okay, I'll be right there. And so I got the hell out of there because those doors are those heavy wooden doors, and like to have the energy to move that, it takes a lot of strength. And so little things like that have happened in the past too, but I've never gone exploring or looking for it.
It just always comes to you.
It just always kind of, yeah. So I've always wanted to, you know. Nina always says, don't be bringing anything home. You know?
Yes, that's what Shannon says every time.
So
I don't want you bringing something home. And I'm like, I'm not going to.
Do you do anything to kind of keep that from happening, or?
No.
Okay.
I just hope for the best, you know. I do say a couple prayers before I go in, like don't touch me kind of thing. But speaking of prisons, I did a Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia.
Oh,
right?
really? That's a big one.
So we went in. My friend and I, Sarah and I, we went for a haunted house. It was in October. Went for like the actual haunted house at night. Right. Just went through. Scary as it can be. Whatever. It wasn't too bad. But the next day we signed back up for a daytime ghost tour because naturally, right. So we go back the next day, and at this point, I've already started watching like Ghost Adventures and things like that. So I know that at least taking pictures, you can see orbs and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's what I started doing in different areas. So Al Capone was there, so I'm taking pictures, you know, in his cell. I don't really see anything. There's some other random cells that you take pictures in, and you would see some orbs, right? I mean, an orb is an orb, but you don't feel stuff. You sometimes whatever. And then there's this one place down in the basement. Of course, it's always the damn basement. It's a cell that I can't remember who was in there especially, but you would go in, and I think I got this from one of the shows. Like if you go in, you kind of just put yourself in the thing, and you go in the darkness, and you can feel energies, and you can feel cold, and then you can feel almost like the room spinning around you, like just things happening. And so I'm like, all right, sign me up. I'm going in, you know. And I went in, and you get dizzy almost because there's so much happening inside there, but
and this is
it's
in the
blacked
basement?
out. It's in the basement inside a actual cell.
Oh, okay.
So they close the cell door, and you just sit there by yourself in the back, and nobody can even really see you as much because it's so dark. But I don't know if it's your mind taking over or what, but you get so dizzy because so much energy is just going around you. And they said that there's like supposed to be like a portal in the corner or something. You just don't know. But I just remember getting the out of there very quick because it was making me sick to my stomach even. I was like, this is too intense. Let me just move on. Let's find something else. Let's find more orbs at this point. I'll take the safe orbs over this feeling of getting into me and just like feeling nauseous. Like it was too much. So
there's a place in Gonzales, and it's the old Gonzales County Jail, and they do ghost tours there. And I wanted to do it one year, and again, Nina was like, "No, because you're not bringing shit in this house." Like
there's not every shit here. Come on now.
And it's funny because she'll tell me, she's like, "Don't be doing that. Don't be bringing anything." And then she's like, "Call Ellen, see if she's got any stories, and bring her over here." But I'm trying to find you. Apparently, years ago, they used to hang people in there as well. And I guess they did in a lot of the county jails, but they used to hang people in there. And I'd gone to my job. We were renovating a building over there that the Chamber of Commerce was moving in. So they were officing out of that county jail, but they were moving into a new space. So I went to go talk to somebody, and we went in there after hours, and and nobody was in there. So me and my buddy walked around, and they had like a drunk tank or something. Thousands and thousands of names scratched in the paint all over the room, and they had the hole. It was at the end of the hallway, and it was crazy because when you stood in that doorway, it was pitch black. Like you couldn't see your hand in front of you, but it was literally like 5 feet deep. It was just so intense to kind of be in that room. Yeah. And that was one place that you just kind of felt real uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And, I wonder if like energy stays in those spaces like that. And Nina wouldn't do it. No. But I wanted to show you this picture. This is something weird that happened. So I'm at my friend's house, right? They used to have what are they called? Labradoodle?
Okay,
no,
yeah.
Not a Labradoodle.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Labrador?
What are those weird dogs?
It'd be nice.
Cocker Spaniel.
Oh, yeah, those.
And so they had the dog for like 15 years. Mm-hmm. Dog died several years before I'd gone to go visit them this day. And I was outside, and I was standing by the bed of my truck looking out. And the moon was pretty. The stars were pretty, and I was like, man, I'm gonna take a picture of this. This looks really nice. And so I took 2 pictures.
Back to back, right?
Yeah, mm-hmm. I just went boop, boop. And one of them was the stars, and I don't have that because I didn't bother keeping that one. Yeah. But the second picture was this picture. And tell me what you see behind like the bright lights.
Oh, come on now, look at that. That is...
It's their white dog, the Cocker Spaniel.
That is bizarre.
Do you see the eyes and the ears? Mm-hmm. It almost looked like plasma or something in front of it.
It's very, yeah. At first you see the brightness in front of it, and you think it's something, but then you see behind. That is not the best photography, but yeah.
No. But that was literally like me pointing my phone over my head. So it had to be like 7 feet in the air, angled toward the sky. And I was looking at it, and I was like... Because there's like a ring or something.
Yep.
With like all these little streamy...
I see an eyebrow and an eye down below. It looks like a female's face, actually. With the hair.
I'm going to have to look at this closer with you then. Mm-hmm. But then I saw the dog in the back. And I was like, the dog's name's
All
Liberty.
I see is a female looking at me, actually.
Really? Like in the background?
Nope, just in the front. Down below, the bright one. Right there. Do you not see that that's like an eyebrow and a face? Right at the very bottom of the picture. That's her forehead, and she has some brown hair.
You're going to have to point that out to me, girl, because I do not see that.
Well, let me tell you. So that is what they say. You take 2 pictures back to back, and they're just... That's where you catch a lot of the orbs.
You got me freaking out now. You're going to have to point this out. Where is this at?
Let me show you. Real quick.
Because I just see the dog in the back.
Too, you see an eyebrow and an eyebrow. You see a blue eye, and then you see somebody's blonde, like brunette hair. Do you not see all that? This is her eyebrow. That's her eyebrow. Those are her eyes. And then her hair. And then this, I don't know what this brain-looking matter is.
But do you see the dog in the back?
I do, but... I see the female from a distance
I
staring
hadn't
at
paid
me.
attention to that.
See, it's all about perspective right there.
That's interesting. But that's probably the only thing that I've ever taken a photo of. Everything else has just kind of happened instantly, and it's kind of like it goes in the memory bank. But, it's funny because, like, I guess as you get older, you start to think about mortality and your death and things like that. And not that I'm in any sort of hurry or anything, but, I've always kind of thought, people always ask the question, like, what happens when you die? And I don't know. But sometimes I think about it, and I'm like, well, your spirit, I think, has a lot of strength to it, right? Mm-hmm. And it would bother me to think that once you died, you are completely done.
Yeah, it's sad.
And it's like
that's nah.
You're
going to come back and haunt the shit out of Nina no matter what.
Oh, no, I'm going to go haunt her hot cousins down in the valley.
Oh, my God, you're a mess.
That's where I'm going.
So here's an odd story. So my buddy Rob Loring, so he's the one who, we went to the Yorktown Memorial Hospital, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's completely shut down. It's been for years. It's abandoned. But there's a tour group from San Antonio, and it's two guys that offer these tours. And I think they're sensitive or mediums, but they also bring in some mediums to go with us on these overnight tours, right?
So it's a whole group that gets
It's a whole group, and you get to, you pay and go. And I think there was maybe 15 people plus these tour guide things. And it's this massive hospital. And so you get to kind of just tour around on your own. And this was before I left. This was actually October, almost exactly 2 years ago, right? So we went one night, and we had downloaded and actually paid for apps on our phone, ghost hunting apps. Now, if you actually pay for them, they're a little bit more real, right?
Okay.
So we had a few. We had one that like beeped when you got close to things, like energies, and we had the one where the words would come up. Did you ever see those?
Oh, yeah.
And so something speaks through it and words will come up.
I don't know if I want to hear it. I mean, if I'm doing it, I don't know if I want to hear it.
I mean, this was probably the most interesting, and I'll probably tell this one on your other podcast too. But so this was pretty cool because we went down into, again, the basement. Why not? And these guys were saying they gave out pendants and that you would spin.
Like crystal kind of things.
Yeah, kind of. There's just pendants, and the way that if it went to the right, it was a yes, and if it went to the no, it was a yeah, no, whatever, or to the left, So then it was that, and there were sticks, and I forget what kind of sticks these are called, but they're sticks that you hold.
Dowsing
they're
rods.
Energy sticks, or what are they?
Dowsing rods?
Rods, yeah. So, and then if they cross, it's I think a yes, and if they stay still, it's a no.
Or water.
Or water.
Old ranchers use them for water.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Huh. And I think it's probably the same thing. I want to say it's more like an energy thing.
Yeah, because water is energy and stuff like that. So we would go down, and they were asking all these questions. Now, as soon as we went down, my app was not as great as Rob's, for sure. Rob's was picking up random things throughout the upstairs. So, like, we walked into this one room, and all of a sudden it came up roaches. Bizarre, right? We're like, roaches, what the heck? And we look over, and all of a sudden there's roaches literally in this one room. And we're like, that's just bizarre, whatever. And then we go in towards this other room, and it says tablet. And you look over it, and I don't know what this thing was, but it literally looked like the Ten Commandments tablet. And it was just a decoration of some sort on the ground. And we're like, yeah, that's what I would call a tablet. All right. So this thing's already picking up some good stuff.
And this is on his phone.
On his phone. And it's pretty intelligent. So we're going down, and we're doing, the pendant and stuff. And as soon as we go down, his thing says pendant. And I actually have this on camera. So what I'm doing is, because his is already knocking it out of the ballpark, I'm recording and then just looking at his phone whenever things are actually happening. So they're asking a bunch of questions, the group. There's maybe 8 to 10 of us down there with the tour guys. And they're like, all right, anybody have anything personal that they want to ask? And, people were asking some whatever questions, and nothing was really coming up except this one guy in the back. You can tell he was very sad. And he said, am I happy? And we're like, why would you have to ghost that? Like, first of all, you should know that, right? And so they're like, some are getting yes, some are getting no. And then he says, this other guy, he said, I want to know if Toby is okay. And on this thing says son, S-O-N, son, right? And they're they're all getting, yes, Toby is happy. And I from the back of the group said, sir, who is Toby? And he goes, that's my dead son.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay. There's the chills going down your spine, right? Because this thing said son.
Yeah.
And we're just like, okay. And then that was probably the most bizarre, just knowing that like his son was actually there and communicating with us. And he asked a couple other questions, just nothing big, like besides like, is he safe? Is he happy? Does he miss us? Things like that, you know?
Yeah.
And it was just like, sir, you're breaking my heart now. I know about Toby. We need to move on, right? Because now I'm getting sad and I'm trying to have fun here. You know?
That's tough.
Yeah, it was good that he got some answers and stuff. And then again, it was just a little bizarre that Rob's thing said son. As soon as he said the word Toby, son came up. And that's when I was like, hey, you know, who is that? Who's that? And he said, it's my dead son. And I'm like, that's a gut punch right there. Yeah. Thank you very much, sir, for validating that this thing is still really working.
Well, you know what's kind of intense about that is, you know, you guys are there and it's a ghost hunting experience, and it makes you wonder if maybe this guy went there
just for those
to
answers.
Ask questions.
Yep. I believe so, because, I mean, they would ask some, they would have us in this little chapel area, and then they'd have us ask questions, and this one person, you know, of course, psychics are different. Some can hear, some can see, some can feel different emotions as well as physical things, and so that's what we were doing, and we were going through, and it was a great experience, that's for sure, and it was almost all night long, and then Rob and I, you know, obviously I went away for a while, not to jail, but to Iraq, which is close to jail. And now that I'm back, we really want to reconnect. And the one thing that we wanted to do was just go into, because we don't have to pay for it or anything, and go on a tour group, but we just want to take our little devices and we want to actually get good ones from wherever the store, or you know, Amazon, and just go sit in a cemetery and just talk to people and see what we can catch and get. And I think we're going to be doing that sooner than later, hopefully, because I mean, that's just fun. We went again, I think. No, we went somewhere else. I can't remember where it was, but his wife came too. Nothing as exciting as that happened that I remember, at least, because again, trash memory.
You know, sometimes it makes me wonder that, like, you know, talking about, you know, our mortality and where do we go and stuff like that. So, you know, I've seen certain shows where, you know, they get feedback that the spirit isn't happy that somebody's there. But I wonder if a lot of times it's when, let's say you do something like that and you sit in a cemetery and you ask questions and you maybe get responses and you talk back. I would imagine if I were a spirit, I would love to have that interaction. You just want
the communication to be acknowledged. Yeah. And that's what a lot of them say. But of course, unless they're, you know, the angry old man that lives in your house, they don't want your ass living here. Yeah. And then if they say, like, if you change things, so if you were to repaint the walls or do any kind of construction, it really brings them out because they're pissed off that you're changing their environment that they were used to when they were alive.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Mm-hmm. Well, I hope you guys pick that back up.
Hope we do it soon. Yeah,
and you know, I would love to go with y'all sometime, but this is my problem. I since a little kid, I get super nervous and excited, and then I have to pee right away.
Oh, me too. But that's fine. We're gonna, you know, where we are, we're outside. It's fine.
Okay.
You'll be all right.
I just don't want to be judged.
No.
I remember we would play hide and go seek as kids, and then I'd go hide, and they'd always find me because I'd have to pee so bad.
They find you in the bathroom every time. Jeez.
I wouldn't even run to home base. I'd be running into the house to go pee. Yeah. My sister would always give me a hard time. She's like, "Just pee outside." I'm like, "I need plumbing." Anyway, but
well, we'll tell you when we go next time because we're really excited. And again, if we're just sitting in a cemetery at night, you know, just for an hour or two, just to see what we can pick up. Game on, man.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Fun. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. You got anything else to share?
I don't. I think that's. I hope I'm maxed out, and I'll let you know if I think of any. But I think that's it.
Well, thank you so much, Ellen.
Thank you.
Had a good time.
Thanks for having me. That was fun.
Thanks everybody for listening.
Yes, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Gabe Molina Podcast.